Glimmer in the Palace. Chapter 1, The Watchman of the Imperial Dining Room. When he was 8 years old, So Kang Fei entered the palace. That year, she had just lost her parents and came to the palace alone to become an apprentice in the Imperial Dining Room. Life in the palace is harsh and ruthless, and most of the women who enter the palace are forced to face the waves of the deep palace, but she just wants to spend every day in obscurity until she retires, and then find an ordinary man to live a simple and ordinary life. In So Kang Fei's mind, the life of the palace seems to be a cage, and her only dream is to spend an ordinary and stable life in this boundless palace. In the past 20 years, she has been meticulous in her work in the Imperial Dining Room, never done anything out of the ordinary, and always has a thoughtful and meticulous service attitude, even if it is to deal with the most tedious things, she is also willing. Time flies, and when she was 25 years old, she finally survived until the day she left the palace. She had everything ready, and was going to carry her bags and smile as she stepped out of the palace she had already known to welcome the outside world that belonged to her. However, just one day before she was about to leave, an unexpected event changed her fate completely. Chapter 2 Unexpected Crossing. So Kang Fei was about to pack her last luggage, when suddenly, she felt a strong dizziness. Her eyes were blurred, and then she was pulled by a powerful force, and her whole person seemed to be torn through time and space. When she opened her eyes again, she found that she was no longer in the familiar dining room, but in a completely unfamiliar place. It was a very strange world, with high-rise buildings towering above the clouds, all kinds of strange iron bumps speeding down the streets, and the surrounding scenes were completely beyond her imagination. The people around her, dressed in colorful clothes, holding a small, shiny object in her hand that seemed to make sounds at will, all of this seemed like a dream to her. What is this place? So Kang Fei muttered to himself, his eyes full of confusion and horror. When she came to her senses, she found herself in a seemingly bustling city, a city with a completely different look than she had known before. She looked down at her clothes and found herself dressed in plain modern clothing, holding a strange, glowing object in her hand. What the hell is going on? So Kang Shuang was shocked and uncertain, but he was also faintly uneasy in his heart. Chapter 3 Finding the Beginning of a New Life. In this strange world, So Kang Fei was not too panicked, and her calmness and wisdom helped her adapt quickly in the unfamiliar environment. She found that the world was very different from her original court, where there were no heavy rules, no battles for fame and fortune, and life seemed simple and colorful. The simple life she once fantasized about seemed to be right in front of her. She stumbled upon a man named Chu Lanming, a young entrepreneur who exuded an aura that could not be ignored. Chu Lanming's eyes were as deep as the night, and his smile was casual but with an indescribable charm, which made So Kang Fei feel a long-lost warmth. Chu Lanming looked at her confused eyes, smiled and said, "You look like you are lost. This world must be strange to you, right?" So Kang Fei was shocked, although she knew that she couldn't hide it from him, she still chose to smile slightly. "Yes, I really don't understand life here." A soft light flashed in Chu Lan's eyes, and then he said softly, "There are many unknown mysteries in this world, and there are also many opportunities. You might as well come with me first, maybe you will find the answer you are looking for." So Kang Fei hesitated for a while, and finally nodded, "Okay." Chapter 4, A Broken Past and New Hopes. As time passed, So Kang Fei gradually adapted to life in this new world. She learned how to use a smartphone, how to ride the subway, and even started to get into some modern food, which made her feel both fresh and amazing. However, she still can't completely let go of the shadow of the past in her heart. She recalled her days and nights of toil in the palace, countless lonely nights, looking up at the skylight of the deep palace, dreaming of one day being able to get rid of all this and live a free life. As she begins to gradually integrate into this new world, she also meets Chu Lanming, a young entrepreneur who seems to have a special interest in her. His warmth and thoughtfulness rekindled hope in So Kang Shuang's heart. But as she grows to rely on this new world, she discovers that this world also has its dark side. While she struggles to integrate into her new life, she also discovers the hidden darkness behind Chu Lanming, and even finds herself involved in an unforeseen conspiracy. Chapter 5, The Choice of Fate. When So Kang Fei found out Chu Lanming's true identity, she was shocked. It turns out that Chu Lanming is not a simple entrepreneur, and the conspiracy behind him involves a huge power struggle, and this battle is leading her into it. Her world begins to crumble, and those mundane dreams seem to be unfulfilled again. She is facing not only the challenges of the modern world, but also the heavy shadows that she brings from the palace. So Kang Fei began her own struggle. She was no longer the woman who just wanted to spend her life ordinary. She began to question whether she should choose a completely different path, a path that completely separated her from Chu Lanming and the conspiracy of this world. In the end, So Kang Fei chose to face everything bravely, and she decided not to hide from fate, but to meet this challenging new world with a new attitude. Chapter 6, Lifting the Veil. So Kang Fei chose to face the conspiracy behind Chu Lanming. Her heart was full of unease, but at the same time, there was an unprecedented force that inspired her to move forward. She knew that if she didn't change the situation, it would continue to surround her and even consume her. Chu Lanming began to show more trust in her. He introduced her to his world and gave her a glimpse of the huge business he runs. The interests behind these companies are far beyond So Kang Fei's understanding, and the conspiracy and power game of deceit make her begin to understand why Chu Lanming is so mysterious. One day, So Kang Fei overheard a secret meeting. Chu Lanming sat down with several business tycoons and talked about a project called Bright Moon Project. The core of this plan is surprisingly linked to her past. Are you sure she's that person? A middle-aged man asked in a low voice. That's right, she's the girl in the palace back then. There was a hint of imperceptible coldness in Chu Lanming's tone. Her bloodline is closely related to our plans. So Kang Shuang's heart was shocked, and he trembled and put his ear on the crack of the door, wanting to hear more details. The core of Minjiahu's plan is to use her bloodline to awaken a sealed force. This power, once unleashed, will be able to change the landscape of this world. Chu Lanming continued. So Kang Shuang's heart beat faster, and she began to realize that she may not be a simple palace maid, and her fate with this world has long been involved. She took a deep breath and decided not to run away anymore. She must learn more and uncover the truth behind it. Chapter 7 The Dark Tide is Turbulent. Over the next few days, So Kang Fei began to pay close attention to Chu Lanming's whereabouts and subtly integrated it into his career. She found that Chu Lanming seemed to know her background very well, and could even easily detect her every movement. Once, after a meeting, So Kang Fei quietly slipped into Chu Lanming's office and opened his work materials. She saw an old book with cryptic handwriting engraved on the cover. This book records a lot of knowledge about the ancient bloodline, and the Bright Moon Project mentioned in it turned out to be the revival of an ancient power, and the source of this power is inextricably linked to her mother family. This discovery shocked So Kang Fei's heart. Her bloodline turned out to be the key to this plan. Her maternal family once possessed an ancient power known as the blood of the moon flower, which could cause devastating change, and its host was her. However, she doesn't remember her mother's family, and she doesn't know if she has the power. It was only now that she began to understand that the time she entered the palace may not be accidental. Chapter 8 The Truth Gradually Uncovered. So Kang Fei decided to ask Chu Lanming more about her mother's family. One day, when the two of them were alone, So Kang Fei asked bluntly, Chu Lanming, how much do you know about my past? Chu Lanming's gaze moved slightly. He put down the teacup in his hand, and after a moment of silence, he said in a low voice, I know everything about you, and I also know that your bloodline has infinite power. Whether you are able to control it or not will determine your future fate. So Kang Shuang's heart was in turmoil, and this information was undoubtedly a huge shock to her. She is not an ordinary woman. Her maternal clan was once an extremely powerful existence, and in her blood, there is a force that can subvert the world. How do I choose? So Kang Shuang's tone was full of confusion. Chu Lanming's gaze was deep, as if he was considering her every word. He spoke slowly, you can choose to give up all this, go back to that simple world, and live an ordinary life. But if you choose to accept it all, this power will be your weapon in the future, helping you take control of the world. So Kang Fei's heart set off turbulent waves. She didn't want to be power, and she didn't want to be anyone's tool, but she knew that if she didn't control this force, she would not be able to protect the people around her, and she might even be swallowed by this force. I'm not going to let myself be a pawn for anyone. So Kang Fei said firmly. Chu Lanming smiled slightly, then, I will help you. Whatever choice you make, I will be there for you. Chapter 9, A Twist of Fate. As time passed, So Kang Fei began to gradually learn to control this force. Instead of being an uncontrollable disaster, her moonlight blood became a part of her and gradually helped her gain a foothold in modern society. However, as she grows stronger, she also finds that every choice she makes is causing even greater changes. Chu Lanming's conspiracy gradually surfaced, and it turned out that he was not simply trying to help her, but using her to achieve his ambitions. So Kang Fei finally realized that this world, like the past in the palace, is an invisible chess game, and she is destined to be one of the chess pieces. But this time, she's determined not to let herself be controlled anymore, and she's going to take control of her own destiny. Chapter 10, The Spiral of Runaway. So Kang Fei felt more and more deeply the whirlpool he was trapped in, and it seemed that all this could not be stopped. Under Chu Lanming's guidance, she gradually took control of her Yuehua blood, but this power was not a simple power, but a terrifying curse. Every time she used it, she felt a burning pain in her body, as if the ancient mark in her veins was eating away at her soul. She began to wonder if her choice was really the only way out. She remembered the days she had spent in the palace, although it was dull, but there had never been such endless torment. She began to dream more and more about the old memories, the demise of her mother, the seal of her bloodline, and the catastrophe from which she could not escape. So Kang Fei, whether you want to or not, this road is destined to be your fate. There was a hint of inexplicable coldness in Chu Lanming's tone. He could always easily see through her heart and know her every struggle. That day, So Kang Fei finally couldn't help but ask, why me? What exactly do I have to do with these people? Chu Lanming was silent for a while, and then slowly spoke, you are the only descendant of the Yuehua bloodline, and the only one who can release that power. Whether you want it or not, you are destined to be the key to changing the pattern of the world. So Kang Fei's heart was shocked after hearing this, and he finally understood how his fate was arranged. Behind all this, there seems to be some kind of huge conspiracy, and she can't get ~rid of it. Chapter 11, The Broken Covenant. Just as So Kang Fei was trying to reach a consensus with her own strength, she learned a shocking news. Chu Lanming is not a simple partner, the real purpose behind him is to control the order of the entire world, and even her bloodline is just a tool for him to achieve this goal. There is a mysterious organization called Star Society, which has been secretly observing So Kang Fei. They knew of her existence and the secret power in her blood. The leader of this organization, Lan Fenjiao, is an extremely intelligent and cunning woman, and she has an extremely intricate relationship with Chu Lanming. One day, Lan Fenjiao suddenly appeared and came face to face with So Kang Fei. She smiled slightly, with a threat in her tone that could not be ignored. So Kang Fei, I know that you are struggling, I know that you don't want to be a pawn, but do you know that this world does not allow you to escape at all? If you don't accept your fate, it will swallow you up in turn. So Kang Fei felt a chill pass through her body, and her intuition told her that there was some kind of unfathomable power in Lan Fenjiao's words. This woman not only has amazing intelligence, but also has an indescribable control. What do you want to do? So Kang Fei looked directly at Lan Fenjiao and asked coldly. Lan Fenjiao's smile was still gentle, but her tone was a hint of provocation. I can help you unleash this power, but at the price, you must serve us and become our ally. Have you thought about it? If you don't, we'll take control of you until you become our tool. So Kang Fei's heart was full of struggle. She understands that no matter what path she chooses, she will not be able to return to the ordinary life of the past. And this power will bring consequences that she cannot foresee. Chapter 12, The Price of Choice. So Kang Fei came alone to a hidden cave, which was believed to be the ancient ruins of her mother's family. Rumor has it that this place hides a secret method to control the blood of Moonflower, and once learned, she will be able to harness this power and potentially destroy all enemies who are chasing her. It was as if two voices were at war in her heart. A voice told her to give up all this and live an ordinary life, another voice reminded her that only by mastering this power can she protect herself and even change the world. So Kang Fei decided to take a risk and entered the cave. The atmosphere inside the cave is extremely ancient, and there is a mysterious energy in the air. She searched the cave and eventually found a sealed ancient book with pages full of ancient runes that glowed faintly. As she opened the ancient books, the power of the blood of the moon awakened in her body again. She felt a powerful surge of energy sweep over her, and that power, with its devastating power, quickly filled her body. However, this force is not completely subordinate to her will, but is constantly challenging her control as if it were alive. At this moment, Lan Fenjiao and Chu Lanming appeared in front of her. In their eyes, it was as if they already knew the predicament she was going to face. So Kang Fei, this is your only chance. Lan Fengjiao said coldly. Chu Lanming's eyes showed a cold smile, if you choose to continue to resist, I will no longer tolerate you. So Kang Fei's heart was beating like a drum, and every choice she made seemed to be destined to change everything. She can only choose a difficult path, whether she is ready to face the decision or not. Chapter 13, The Price of Choice. So Kang Fei stood in the depths of the cave, the power of the blood of the moon surging through her body, almost devouring her. Her vision was blurred, and the air around her seemed to become heavy, as if all history and fate were intertwined at this moment. She could hear the call of that ancient power, no longer a simple bloodline power, but some ineffable presence trying to pull her into the bottomless abyss. Lan Fengjiao and Chu Lanming stood in front of her, they stared at her struggles indifferently, their eyes seemed to be full of anticipation. They had already foreseen the coming of this moment, no matter what choice So Kang Fei made, it would be their pawn and there would be no escape. So Kang Fei, this is your last choice. Lan Fengjiao smiled, and there was a hint of unquestionable command in her tone, if you don't accept our arrangement, we will let this force completely get out of control. You will become a dangerous being that even you cannot control. Chu Lanming stood aside and looked at her with a sneer, you don't want to be our tool. Then, this force will make you a disaster. There are only two options for you, to become our allies, and to be our enemies. So Kang Shuang's heart beat violently, and the blood of Yue Hua completely awakened that ancient power in her body, like a ruthless chain, binding her to nowhere to escape. She felt every cell in her veins scorching over this choice. Her heart was in turmoil, as if two voices were constantly fighting, one for her to choose to give up, and the other for her to choose to control. I'm no longer anyone's pawn. So Kang Fei muttered in a low voice, and suddenly, her eyes became firm as iron. She took a deep breath and decided to make the hardest choice. Whether this power is a curse or a blessing, she no longer flinches. She stood up straight, facing Lan Fengjiao and Chu Lanming, her eyes flashing with an unprecedented light. I choose to take control of it, to control my destiny. So Kang Fei's voice was cold, as if announcing her determination. Underscore 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 un. Chapter 14 Reversal. With So Kang Fei's decision, the blood of Yue Hua erupted with amazing power in her body. That power was no longer a catastrophe beyond her control, but merged with her will and became a part of her. Her body glowed with dazzling light, and the entire cave seemed to shake with her power. Chu Lanming and Lan Fengjiao were stunned, they had never seen such a powerful force. Lan Fengjiao's face changed slightly, and her gaze became solemn, you can actually control this power. This power is mine, not yours. So Kang Shuang's tone was cold and firm, I won't be anyone's tool. Chu Lanming frowned, he could see that So Kang Shuang's strength at the moment had exceeded his expectations. He originally thought that he could use her bloodline to achieve his ambitions, but now, So Kang Fei's power made him feel threatened like never before. Do you think you can defy fate? Chu Lanming's tone became cold, and he reached out and grabbed So Kang Fei's direction suddenly, trying to pull her into his control. However, So Kang Shuang's figure suddenly disappeared from his sight, and immediately appeared behind him. Her power swept in like a torrent, defusing Chu Lanming's attack. With each gesture she made, the ancient power grew stronger, and finally, she succeeded in breaking Chu Lanming's control. You are no longer my enemy. So Kang Fei said coldly, completely sealing Chu Lanming. She didn't want to kill him, but to imprison him forever in a space from which he could not escape, so that he could never threaten her again. Lan Fengjiao saw that the situation had taken a turn for the worse, and her heart also set off huge waves. She knew that today, the situation she could control had completely collapsed. So Kang Fei, are you sure you want to do this? Lan Fengjiao's voice came coldly, and the murderous aura in her eyes was revealed. Yes, I'm sure. So Kang Fei's tone did not hesitate, you and Chu Lanming, no matter how powerful they are, can no longer dominate my fate. I will go my own way, no matter how steep the road ahead. Underscore 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 un. Chapter 15, The Dawn of a New World. So Kang Fei completely got rid of the shadow of Chu Lanming and Lan Fengjiao, and she was finally able to completely control her destiny. Her power is no longer a curse, but her weapon, her guardian, and even her power to reshape the world. After experiencing countless struggles and choices, So Kang Fei finally found his own direction. She decided not to live the simple life of the past, but to use her powerful power to change the world, so that those who were once bound can also have freedom and hope. She founded her own organization and used her strength and wisdom to build a new order that was no longer dominated by intrigue and power, but was based on fairness and justice, bringing equal opportunities and a future for everyone. With the passage of time, So Kang Fei gradually became a hero in people's hearts, her name spread all over the world, and the power from the blood of Yue Hua also turned into endless hope under her guidance. At the end of the story, So Kang Fei stood on a high platform, staring at the dawn in the distance. There is no longer confusion in her heart, only infinite longing and hope for the future.